The National Teachers Union says that union members have not been informed about what measures have been taken to sanitize school premises and provide personal protection equipment against COVID-19. NATU President Thompson earlier called on school principals, deputy principals and school heads of department not to report for duty today. Some teachers were expected to report for work today to work on preparations for the reopening of schools expected to start on the 1st of June. NATU President Thompson now joins us live via Skype. Thank you so very much for joining us, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you very much for having me.
Just as a start, when it comes to plans to reopen schools, we see that it's not set well with you as NATU, and some of the parents and even teachers are saying that a return to school is not feasible. Are you working, though, with government to see what would make that idea feasible so that, we don't lose the whole year of, learners not going to school?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We are working very hard. In fact, we just had a meeting with the Minister of Basic Education and the Deputy Minister yesterday discussing about these critical issues. One of the issues that we've highlighted and noticed are the reports that were coming from provinces, which were indicating that provinces were not ready to receive teachers because they were supposed to receive teachers on the 11th of July. On the 11th of May, and also receive the SMTs on the 11th and other teachers on the 18th. But so far, there is no single province that was ready to receive the educators. So that is the problem that we are confronted with. But you will recall that even when the Minister of Basic Education was addressing the nation, she indicated that teachers were ready to go back to school, provided they put all the necessary safe and healthy material to ensure that teachers are teaching under conducive situation and learners are not exposed to the infection. Remember now, we do not want to see schools becoming the very new epicenter for propagating new infection in the Republic of South Africa.
Sir, what would convince you that the schools are indeed ready? What would make you as a union be confident to, let me use the word, release your union members, the teachers, to the schools to begin teaching? What are those issues that are niggling at the moment that you are having those conversations with the Minister of Basic Education? As you've said, you've had a meeting with her. What are the main issues that would make you go back to school?
Well, the first issue, which in as far as we are concerned is very, very fundamental, is to see our schools being sanitized, is to see proper fumigations of schools, is to see that the department is having also a plan on what is it that needs to be done by teachers on the first day of schooling. Like, for instance, the Department of Health, through Professor Karim, who's one of the experts that are assisting the department, indicated that for us to be able to curb the spread of the virus, we must make sure that, one, we are able to wash our hands. Two, we are also able to keep the physical distancing. So if you look at the school environment, some of the classes are having 80 learners, which means what we need to see a school that will be able to reduce the class size. We need a commitment from the Department of Basic Education that indeed they are going to employ extra teachers, because the country is not having problem of shortage of teachers. We have so many teachers who are fully qualified, who are graduates, who have been without employment until today. Another important issue is that we want the Department of Basic Education to confirm that all the orders that they've placed of the packages for the sanitizers will be received or they've been delivered in all the respective schools. But another very fundamental issue is that issue of keeping the distance between the learners. Initially, the department proposed that the class will have 40 learners. A maximum of 40 learners, which means 2 learners will be sharing a desk. Our position has been very clear that we need 1 learner in 1 desk, which means no child must share a desk. that will ascertain us that indeed learners are going to be safe. But on top of that, we still have schools that are without water. Some of the schools, yes, tanks were delivered, but we are not interested in the delivering of tanks. Schools are not looking for tanks, but instead what they are looking for, they want tanks to be delivered, to be properly installed. They want tankers to come to the school and fill the tanks with water. We need the confirmation that they have received all the masks and the masks have been delivered in respective schools. We need an indication that all the offices, all the school buildings have been properly fumigated. Then we can say our members must go to school. Then we can encourage parents to allow their children to go to school. But there are those children that are without a transport, which means they rely on public transport.
Yeah.
And most of the time, those public transport are overcrowded. As a result, we are saying we need to reduce the load of people that will be transported. We must make sure that there are people who will be ready to sanitize learners before they can even use the public transport. So all those systems must be in place before we can be able to make a pronouncement that how soon learners will go to school. We are committed in seeing learners coming to school. We are committed to teach learners. We are saying we'll be able to teach across the curriculum. We will prepare learners and make them ready for examination, provided we put precautionary measures in place. Finally, we are very much worried about the statistics we are getting from the Department of Health. Remember, when the schools were closed, only 61 people in the Republic confirmed to be COVID-19 positive. Now, which means right now we have surpassed 7,000. And we've got more than 100 people who have passed away in the country, which means we are really expected to go to school when things are very difficult. Hence, the department must reassure us that we are safe and it is safe for us to go to school by putting the required PPEs in their respective schools and make sure that teachers are observing social distancing, children are able to wash their hands, and everything is in order.
Mr. Thompson, over the weekend I had a conversation with the ANC Youth League in KwaZulu-Natal. I know that some of your members are from KZN. They are for the opening of schools, reopening of schools, and they'd sort of made it seem as though they had spoken to all, relevant stakeholders. I'm assuming they didn't talk to you then, because you're not singing from the same hymn sheet. What is happening? Are you aware of the fact that the ANC Youth League and KZN is pushing for the immediate reopening of schools, and they said that all things will be checked and everything will be done in order to make sure that learners and teachers are safe? Have you had any kind of conversation with them?
Yes, we are having discussions with all provincial education departments. We have deployed our members to sit in all those committees. But what is important is that just yesterday, we received a comprehensive report which was submitted or was presented to us by the Director General of the Republic of South Africa in the Education Department, in the presence of the National Minister of Basic Education and the Deputy Minister of the Basic Education. That report, in fact, let me say only two, if I'm not mistaken, provinces that were close in ensuring that they meet all the non-negotiables that we tabled. And KZN is not one of those provinces. I think it's also important to indicate that even if one province is ready, we are running one education system, which means we cannot allow a situation where one province will go ahead while other provinces are unable to continue simply because they've not met the basic requirements. Remember, we have a principle in this country that says there is no child that must be left behind. And the Minister of Basic Education has a social contract with the members of society of the Republic of South Africa that there is no child that is going to be disadvantaged. But in this case, the disadvantages are not being caused by us as teachers, are not being caused by learners themselves, but they are being caused by people who have been entrusted with the responsibility to uplift the poorest of the poor so that it is in the right state they are able to reopen the schools. So the problem that we are having is that we have provinces that have not delivered, that have not put water in schools, that have not delivered sanitation packages or sanitizers in schools, that have not devised means and ways of cleaning the schools, cleaning the offices. That is the reason why we are here. We do not want people to come and pay lip service when they know that what is happening on the ground is far different with what is happening, with what they are saying when they report in the media. We even heard when the national spokesperson of the Department of Basic Education was saying those schools that are ready will have to go ahead, and those that are not ready must remain closed until they are ready. That's a kind of an attitude that we do not want, because we cannot every time allow those who have to take advantage over those who do not have, especially those who are doing matric. All of them, whether they come from a poor background or they come from a rich family, they are expected to go to the university. And they've already lost time because most of the rural schools, township schools, they never had any form of an online learning. Now, if we say those that are ready must continue, which means we are still advantaging the schools that were enjoying online learning. We are still advantaging the learners that were enjoying online learning. We are still depriving those schools that are without water, because we can't say they must tomorrow go to school when we know exactly that they do not have taps to open and have access to water and wash their hands. They do not have extra classes so that they can be able to subdivide those overcrowded classes with 80 learners. They do not have extra teachers that are being paid by the school governing bodies. They rely solemnly on the Department of Basic Education. They rely for survival from government. And we say they must remain closed until such time somebody who has been entrusted with service delivery decides to deliver that service. And let's remember that these poor schools we are talking about, they have waited for more than 20 years to get a better environment. They have waited for more than 20 years to have water in their schools. But we are saying to the department, we do not want them to concentrate on the backlogs, but let's devise ways and means for learners to be able to wash their hands at school, for learners to be able to have somebody who will test their temperature if they enter the premises of the school. We want somebody who's going to help teachers with extra classes so that they can subdivide. That is the only thing we are calling for, and we are saying provinces are capable of doing that. They must not be obsessed with time. When are we opening? When they are neglecting the actual activities that must be done.
All right,
we
Mr. Thompson, let's leave it there.
List activities, and thereafter talk about the actual date for
Thank
schools
you very
to
much.
reopen.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alan Thompson, President of the National Teachers Union. Of course, they're emphasizing what other unions have been saying about the fact that teachers will not return to work until the Department of Basic Education guarantees their safety from the COVID-19 virus.